Right. So I have this question for you, right? What is one Kenyan value or traditional related, a value related to manhood that you feel is still relevant and helpful to you? And what's one that you want to retire, right? Like you just say, no, that. So I'm really interested. Which one should we keep? Which one should we retire?
Mhm. Um, that's great. That's a great question. Um, I think there are multiple uh, values that are good um, that we got from the OGs. Um, I think one that stands out to me that was instilled in me is the importance of education and whether that be formal or informal. Um, I've always been taught that learning is a lifelong process and that something you should continually do to um, better your understanding of the world around us. Right. Um, but one uh, aspect or maybe value that I think we could retire is the depression of emotion. You know, there's sometimes even as boys, we're kind of just told to suck it up or um, just forget about it and keep going. But I don't really think that's helpful because it just ends up with those negative emotions being bottled up inside and perhaps manifesting in an unhealthy way. So I think that's a place where we can rethink that and perhaps find healthy alternatives to deal with those negative emotions. And so that would be one value that I would say needs to retire from the those suite of Kenyan values that we have. Um, and so that would be how I would answer that.
So keep the value of continuous learning and the focus on learning, whatever learning means, right? It could be grade learning, it could be continuously keeping you busy learning, and then retire just stick with it, be a man. Why are you crying? We talked about the why question last week too. And
Mhm.
so I'm curious. I'm sure you observe that in a lot of us OG men, where we perhaps not having experienced the alternative, we end up doing the same thing that was told to us, right? Why are you crying? Stop crying, man up. And it's very normal. I don't know if I don't even think it's a cultural thing. I think it's also generational as well. I'll be watching my son playing soccer, and there'll be a parent over there, and their kid gets kicked, shoved, pulled, hair yanked, and the parent will shout, man up, suck it up. What's the
Mhm.
alternative?
Mhm. I think we need to be careful with how we address, you know, this problem that we have. Um, because what we don't want to happen is to overly coddle our kids, right?
Yeah.
To a point where if they're ever faced with any real challenges in the real world, that they're unequipped or unprepared to handle them because they were never um, faced with any adversity, during their childhood um, and they never had to overcome any, challenges growing up, right? So I think we need to find a place where kids can go through things, but not to a point where it's maybe traumatizes them
Mm.
or leaves a lasting negative impact on them. And just kind of finding that line where we can allow our kids to go through adversity and come out on the other side stronger and better for it, but also not just telling our kids to just man up or suck it up. So I think that's something you need to work on. And I'll be honest, I don't have a concrete solution to that, but I think that's a step in the right direction of finding that balance of not overly coddling our kids, but also not overly beating down on our kids metaphorically. So
I really appreciate that answer, because hearing it from you then really emphasizes some of the things that we as men need to unlearn, right?